Hi, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Numbers. I'm your host, Dave Bookbinder. I'm a Senior Director of Valuation Services at CFGI. In my world, business performance and business value is measured by the numbers. But savvy executives and leaders understand that there's usually more to the story. So welcome to the program where we dig a little bit deeper to understand what really matters most in business. Today, we're going to be talking about bringing consumer products to the retail market. And we're going to be going behind the numbers with my guest, Bruce Rubin, who's the president of BHR Global Associates. Bruce, welcome to Behind the Numbers.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you. So I always start out by asking my guests to just tell the audience a little bit about who they are and a little bit about their company.
Okay. I started BHR Global about 15 years ago based upon my background in product development and global sourcing and working with companies, with and for companies to bring new products and product lines to retail market, leveraging my contacts in the world of sourcing and product development, as well as a network of independent manufacturers reps. Went out to the world to say, here we are. If you've got an idea for a product, we can help you from every step of the way, from validating that there is a product sale potential to getting it ready at the right retail price and getting it out to potential customers, retailers, everybody from QVC to Walmart and everything else in between. If you have one item and it's worth selling, if it's got potential as a saleable item, we usually recommend that you go out and get a patent and try to license the product, because getting a one item line into retail is difficult at best, especially for a new company. Places like QVC and HSN, if it's the right kind of product, we can help with that. But beyond that, you're getting into a bricks and mortar retailer like Walmart or Target or Home Depot or Lowe's is difficult, especially for a new company. They haven't, and with a company with a product line, if something doesn't work, you replace it with something else. But if you got one item, what are you going to replace it with if it doesn't work? So that, and we start out typically, getting introduced to somebody. I've got an idea, and I said, we'll do the research to see if it's already been invented and out there, and maybe it is a better version of what's already there. And in many cases, if it's not there, we'll see if it's, like I said, a better version, a better mousetrap for the product. And then we'll work with them to make sure that the retail price, the cost and the retail price makes sense. That a lot of people think everybody's going to pay $59.95 for their item that's either a $4.99 or a $9.99 kind of product, and get it costed right, and have or make sure it hasn't been invented. One of the stories, people came to me through a friend who happens to be a music professor at the University of Kansas and has a cat. And if you have cats, when they leave the litter box, they get litter caught in their claws. And so he invented this mat that they would step on and capture the litter and then go about their business. So we said, make a sample. He made a sample. We said, make a better one. He made a better one. We went to lunch one day and asked people, do you own a cat? And if they said yes, we said, would you pay $19.99 for this item, outside the litter box? And they said, of course. That was a Thursday. So Saturday, after all this positive feedback, I went to PetSmart. And lo and behold, there were 12 feet of mats already out there, already on the market in different sizes and shapes. And in one case, the product had already, based upon the copyright on the packaging, had already been on the market for 15 years. So I told my friend to tell his friend, keep his day job, and it's a great idea, but it's already out there and there's no prayer. But in today's world, with access to computers or just getting up and going to wherever you think might sell the product, you can look. But if you get past all of that, then you say we can help source it the right price. I had somebody come to me who wanted us to sell his product, and I said, what's your retail? He said, $59.95. I said, what's the competitive product sell for? He said, a really good competitive premium version of what he had to sell is $35.99. I said, nobody's going to buy your product. Nobody's going to spend $60 for something they may not understand versus something that's 35, that they know what it is. And I said, can I source it for you and see if I can get the price down? And I did. And we actually made a better version of what he had developed, and the retail became $39.95. So, but we can do all of that. Yeah.
So are you working primarily with entrepreneurs, Bruce, or companies?
Primarily with entrepreneurs. I like to work more with companies who have products, who need more product development, having some issues with their sourcing, be it from China or elsewhere in the world, and get their costs in line and do all that. But entrepreneurs, in many cases, have no understanding of what it takes to be in business. Because once we get past the first couple of rounds, I'll say to them, forget what I would cost you as a consultant. Do you have $5,000 to $15,000 to get samples made, maybe artwork for your product, et cetera, et cetera? And I get this look like I need money to do things,
Yeah.
So.
And that's a good segue, because I wanted to ask you about the process of bringing a product to the market. So wearing my consumer hat, if I walk into a store, for example, I'll notice some products. Well, that's very clever, or that seems stupid, or they're just necessities. But I never really stop and spend the time to think about. I wonder how that idea began and how it wound up in this particular store. So can you talk to the audience a little bit about what that process entails?
Okay. Typically, if you're a company, you've got a product line, be it at Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever, and you then develop a line, be it shower heads or whatever, and you then have to work with the buyer at that company to present your product line. And typically, they have to like it. And then if it works, it'll get into retail. Then what has to happen is, depending on the size of the package, you have to earn so many dollars per square inch. So if an item, say, just for the sake of argument, it's got to do $50,000 a year at retail. If it doesn't, you've got to come up with something to replace that. And then, you go through a process of markdowns and other things. So that's why things are on sale for, originally $19.99, now $4.99. They're trying to get rid of it. And the vendor and the company they work together and both take a little bit of a hit on the profit margin. And then a new product comes in. Or if you want to do, a lot of times what companies will do, and what I did when I was working for companies, we'd go to retail stores and say, who's next to what we're selling? And then see if we can make a version of those products faster, better, and cheaper. So we could go in and say, look, we've got a line, we've just come out with this new line of product, and we've sourced it, we've developed it, and we've made all these improvements over what you're now selling. Of course, you have a place to work from. And, it becomes a decision the buyer makes. And then, you if you're lucky, you get the more space, and it's all about, space and how much you can, fill up in a store.
Right. So when you alluded to QVC, I was thinking back to a QVC success story that originally began on Shark Tank. And I'm thinking about Scrub Daddy. Basic kitchen sponge in the shape of a smiley face. What was it about that product that caught the consumer's attention and made it so successful?
Well, it was different. But people understood what it did. And it became kind of a fun thing to have and do, and it provided more for the consumer to quote unquote clean, but it was fun,
Right.
So a lot of cases, coming up with a product that's better than what's quote unquote normal. Like this item I alluded to before about the $59.95 for $39, it was a mulch fork. Instead of using two hands, it became a one-handed thing. So the developer did a little video where he was drinking a bottle of, a little beer while he was mulching. And it's the same kind of thing. It's a fun product that is a different twist, but everybody understands what it does. You don't have to educate what the product does. You just have to get, in their mind that
Awareness.
this is something I need to have,
Yeah.
and I understand what it does, and I want it. And
Gotcha.
it's not outrageously priced.
Bruce, if anybody watching wants to learn more about you or how they can get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
They can contact me at bruce@bhrglobal.com, and it'll come directly to me, and I will be happy to talk to anybody and discuss the product. The initial consultation is at no cost to the people, the company, or to an inventor, and we'll go through the process. And if everything works out, they'll have a product that's successful, and
Yep.
go from there.
Sounds good. I think we've got about 3 minutes or so to go in this first segment. So I wanted to ask you, in your experience, is there a common theme that you've seen in terms of mistakes that entrepreneurs or companies are making as they are going about this process and getting a product to market? So if you were advising them, gratis right here, right now, what would you tell them to watch out for?
Well, first of all, watch out for the quality. Watch out for the retail price, that the price is right. And that it fits in what you do, and there's a big enough potential market. One of the products that I worked with was a wrench to remove your old toilet seat, which if anybody has done that, it could be difficult, and put on the new one. And I went to, this gentleman had one item, and I went to a company and said, what would you have to pay? Because it was like $5.99, and it wasn't selling as much. I said, what would the cost have to be to wholesale it for $1, so it can be $1.99. They told me 60 cents, and I found a cost that allowed the person to get it delivered for a lot less than 60 cents, and sold a couple of million pieces, and worked out. One of the things we can do was work out terms with our vendors that, in this case, the man never had to take one penny out of his pocket for almost 2 million pieces he sold, except write me a check for making the deal. So.
Gotcha. In less than 60 seconds, Bruce, that's all we've got left here in this first segment. How long does it take to go from the idea concept to getting into a retail outlet?
If you're lucky, it'll only take 1.5 years. You've got to go from the day it starts. You've got to get the product made, get it made right, get enough samples, get to the sales force, have them get an appointment, and then the retailer saying yes, and then that's only when they're making changes to that area of the store, and that's typically a few months later. Then so if you're lucky, if you came to me today, January 1st, 2021, you might have your product in a store.
Good to know. I think on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Behind the Numbers after these commercial messages.
Casinos by the ocean. Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches, solid rock, and everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey.
Burlington County College.
Is now Rowan College of Burlington County.
Still the same great faculty.
At a community college ranked top 50 in the nation.
Basically, we earn more and pay less.
RCBC students are accepted at Rowan University after graduation.
And get a bachelor's degree for around $30,000.
Online and Mount Laurel students get a 15% Rowan University tuition discount.
And have many scholarship opportunities.
So you earn more and pay even less.
Rowan College of Burlington County.
Your path to success.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to strengthen our service members? What does it take to let them know that we stand behind them, wherever they are? What does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? And what does it take to prepare them for their future when their service to the nation is complete? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Share a message today at force.uso.org.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Numbers. I'm Dave Bookbinder. Today, we're talking about bringing a consumer product to the retail market with Bruce Rubin, who's the president of BHR Global Associates. Bruce, we spent a good amount of time in the first segment discussing that topic. We're going to shift gears a little bit here and put on a different hat, so to speak, and that is to talk about your role with ELab, the Executive Leaders for Advisory Boards. So for the folks who are watching who don't know what ELab is, tell us a little bit about it.
ELab is a group of 45 senior executives who have been selected to fill roles in advisory boards for companies. Each one has been selected, and there's very little overlap, so we can handle and cover any area where a company would be needing advisory help. My background is in supply chain and product development and sourcing, and people who have HR backgrounds, accounting backgrounds, marketing backgrounds, et cetera. The goal is to provide what we believe is an underserved area with companies. We're not a board of directors. We're a board of advisors that will be paid by the company to get them to the next level. Based upon the company and their needs, after interviewing them in one of two processes we have for meeting companies, one of which is called Growth Company Catalyst, and the other one is just an interview process where they'll come and present and say, we have a problem, and we pick 5 or 6 people who fit the company and what they do and so on, and the backgrounds match, and we'll give them advice, for and all their obligation is to pay for breakfast or lunch or whatever we meet at. The long-term goal is to get the 45 of us on advisory boards as paid advisors to meet with the company once a month, once a quarter, whatever works for them, to get them on the path to growth and make changes to what they're doing. We're not consultants. We're not getting paid for a project. If one of us happens to get asked to do a consulting project, we will leave the advisory board and replace it with somebody else. There will be, we're in the process of launching to get the word out that we believe this is an underserved marketplace, that companies are unaware of advisory boards and the value that they could bring to the company. And we're beginning a marketing and campaign, and we have a website, advisory-boards.org, and which will give you more details about what I'm saying. But it's basically, like I say, a group of 45, and not to get any bigger. It may get to 50, but no more than 50. So it's not like we're going to be 300 people and kind of networking group. It's
right.
Highly selected individuals, and we ensure that there's minimal to no overlap in what are based upon our backgrounds.
So you mentioned it's an advisory board,
Right.
and you've made a distinction between board of directors. So if a company has a board, why do they need an advisory board? What's the difference there?
Well, a board of directors, will review the books and do things and try to give. Look, having been on the board of directors, it becomes a meeting of, let's talk about the company, but the purpose is not necessarily to get things done or drive the direction in the way an advisory board would, because we're independent. We're not part of the company. Many times board of directors are made up of employees and some outside people and maybe investors or some combination. We're totally outside of all of that. So our only goal is to make sure that we provide the advice necessary for the company to get from level A to level B to level C without any personal gain or obligation in the process, where a board of directors, sometimes their advice is based upon what they want, not what's good for the company, kind of thing.
Gotcha. How can people learn more if they wanted to contact you, Bruce?
Again, you can contact me about ELab at bruce@bhrglobal.com, and if you're interested in learning about ELab, just make that the subject of your email. But it's, again, bruce@bhrglobal.com.
Sounds good. I want to shift gears real quick because we only have a few minutes to go in the program, and I wanted to talk about your athletic prowess.
Okay.
And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll let you decide what you want to talk about and how you want to discuss it, but you're quite an athlete.
All right, thank you. Well, I am the captain of a 3-on-3 basketball team that just competed in the National Senior Games, where we came in 5th in our age group out of 17 teams. Initially, my teammates were disappointed, and I just said, we just lost to the gold, silver, and bronze medalists, and we're 5th in the country. And all of a sudden, it kind of lit up that we're actually pretty good. And we came home with a ribbon. I also belong to a track and field group, a Philadelphia Masters Track and Field Association, where I run 400 meters, 800 meters, and race walk. And one of the things I did at the Senior Games was participate in the 1,500 meter race walk, 1,500 meter power walk, and 5,000 meter power walk. And my goal in the race walk was not to get disqualified, and I didn't, which was thrilling, because I've been, my technique and practice is, I need to do more of that instead of playing basketball 3 or 4 times a week.
Did you get disqualified by throwing a few elbows at people as you were going by?
No. But one of the things we did as part of the track club, I participated in the National USA Track and Field Masters indoor track meet in March, and at the Penn Relays in April. And in one event, we set a world record for our age group in the 4x400 meter relay. And at the Penn Relays, we set an American record. One was indoors, and the Penn Relays obviously outdoors for the American record for the same race. So, and like I said, in the wintertime, I'm ending up playing basketball 4 times a week, which doesn't give me enough time to practice the running and the walking like I should. So.
Well, congratulations to you. So what's your diet and your exercise regimen like to maintain that?
I'm on the ketogenic diet, which is low carb, high fat, protein. So it's kind of 5% carbs, 75% fat, 20% protein, which I try to follow as best I can. When I'm not playing basketball, I'll either go to work out at the Y near me, or ride a stationary bike, or run. And depending on how business is, I'll exercise at least 6 days a week.
Wow, nice. I think we have time for one more quick question. I want to circle back to ELab, just for the folks at home who are watching. Is there a particular size of an organization that's a good fit for what you guys are offering?
Preferably a business of at least $5 to $10 million, up to $50 million would be our sweet spot as to a company we're looking to help, and hopefully get them from 10 to 100 million, or 50 to 500 million.
Right.
That's a sweet spot.
And just to be clear, it's not just what you can do in helping a company that may have a retail product, but when you talk about the other folks on the team, it could be raising capital, it could be an accounting matter, it could be a marketing matter.
Absolutely anything, and that's one of the nice things about who the group is. Our backgrounds cover everything in business. So if you're not a product company or an IT company, we've got people, I would not necessarily be on the advisory board, but we've got people that can fill the roles in an IT company as well as a manufacturing company. So the type of company is immaterial, but they do need to have, how long they've been in business is immaterial, but they need to have, that range of income.
Got it. On that note, we've got to wrap up for today. Bruce, thank you so much for joining me.
Okay.
Our guest
My
today on
pleasure.
Behind the Numbers was Bruce Rubin, and we've been talking about bringing products to market. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and I will see you next time on Behind the Numbers.